Kraken Home Ice is sponsored by Primera Blue Cross, always in your corner.
Final meeting this season for the Seattle Kraken and the Chicago Blackhawks. For Montour, back for Eyssimont. The second chance, the third chance is a charm. It's Shane Wright. Wright, Larson, Wright again, they score! Just a beautiful play. Shane Wright, his second goal tonight.
Third of 4 meetings this season, the Seattle Kraken and the Edmonton Oilers.
Kicked out. Skinner comes up big and Kakko picks up the cash. Kaapo Kakko, third guy in, is a charm. Kakko walks in, he scores! Kaapo Kakko with an electrifying breakaway goal.
With less than a month left in the season, the Kraken are still fighting for a wild card spot. The team has been playing some of its best hockey of late. Welcome to Kraken Home Ice. In tonight's episode, the Coachella Valley players, who are often called up to the Kraken, share how they've adjusted to playing in both leagues. Mikey Eyssimont is no stranger to a challenge. He was diagnosed with Crohn's disease at the age of 21. Now in his 4th season in the NHL, he talks about maintaining a balance as a professional athlete while staying healthy. And we're learning more about broadcaster Piper Shaw and her road to the Kraken broadcast team. On Monday, Brandon Montour was named one of the NHL's 3 stars of the week. Monty had 6 points, 3 goals, and 3 assists over 3 games. The defenseman's most notable point was scoring on a shot 4 seconds into the Kraken's overtime win against Montreal. Monty's 4-second shot was the fastest overtime goal in NHL history. His electric offensive week helped Montour tie his career high in goals with 16. On Tuesday, the Kraken started their road trip with a bang in Chicago. As soon as they dropped the puck, John Hayden and Pat Maroon started slugging away. After falling behind 2-0 in the first, Adam Larson scores off a pass from Matty Beniers. Captain Jordan Eberle gets the tying goal, and the Kraken take off from there. It was a big game for Shane Wright. He scored the final 2 goals in Chicago as the Kraken win it 6-2. On Wednesday, Philip Grubauer got the start in Minnesota. The Wild get off to a hot start. Ryan Hartman scores just 2.5 minutes into the game. Next goal, 4 Kraken players in the corner, lots of space in the middle, and Matt Boldy cashes in. Grubauer doesn't get much help on the 3rd goal either. Liam Ogren from point-blank range makes it 3-0. 3 goals in the opening 4:29 of a game is the fastest in the NHL this season. The Kraken lose 4-0. Tonight's game was Kraken assistant coach Bob Wood's 1,000th NHL game. He's been coaching in the league since 2009. The Kraken are his 5th team as an assistant. Here's what coaching means to Bob.
Hockey's a great sport to be a part of, and when you can't play anymore, the next best thing is coaching, and hopefully I can stay in it as long as possible because it's what I love, and it's a great sport to be a part of. The big thing for me is watching young players and help them reach their goals and have success. Like, there's nothing better than running into guys that I've worked with since they started in the league, and just to hear them say hello and appreciate what you did for them. That's important. I think we work hard as coaches, and we want to see our players have success and do well, and if we can have a little influence in that, I think that's as rewarding as it gets.
For a hockey player in the juniors, the ultimate goal is to go pro. Players from Coachella Valley are often called up to the Kraken when needed and then sent back down when that need is over. Brianna Vasquez talked to some of the players who could start for either the Kraken or the Firebirds on any given night.
The life of an NHL hockey player is hectic. Whether they're practicing, playing, or traveling, it can be a lot to balance. It's even more of a task for players who get called up.
One-timer flurry, he scores!
It's kind of just like a day-by-day thing. Kind of focus on what I can control and try to do everything I can the best.
If there's a Kraken injury or a roster spot opens up, players from the Kraken's AHL affiliate in Coachella Valley fill that empty spot. That means at a moment's notice, players could be on the next flight from Coachella Valley to Seattle or meeting the team wherever they are. Depending on the need, the player can be reassigned to CV immediately after, meaning they could play in an NHL game one night and an AHL game the next day. Cale Fleury, Yanni Newman, and John Hayden are just 3 of the CV players who've been called up during this season.
Rebound, Hayden scores!
My goal's been to spend more time up here, but both places have been a blessing. It's both are great places to live, great staffs in both places, and the teammates as well.
A call-up can lead to an NHL debut. This season, we saw rookie laps from Jacob Melanson, Nike Coco, Alice Seska, and Yanni Newman. Newman was called up from CV and made his NHL debut on March 12th, where he also scored his first NHL goal.
In front, they score! Yanni Newman!
When I started to play the ice hockey, this is the best time of my life, and I'm so excited.
Compared to years past, the skill level between the AHL and the NHL has gotten a lot closer.
Obviously, the NHL is the world's it's the fastest level. It's faster, it's bigger, it's stronger, but it's similar that step to the American Hockey League.
The pace of the game might be faster in the pros, but these players are prepared.
I don't think the transition is too difficult. Great players in both leagues.
One of the biggest differences for these players is ice time.
Obviously down there I'm playing kind of more minutes and in more situations. So it's kind of just a little bit of an adjustment period to kind of stay in a rhythm when you're not playing as many minutes. But for me, I just try to focus on defending hard and moving the puck well.
This is of course the best league out in the world, and yeah, a little bit different, but I think it's my game is doing the next level and try my best every game.
Newman scores!
Ahead on Kraken Home Ice, Mikey Eyssimont discusses his battle with Crohn's disease and finding balance as a pro athlete.
Everything in my life is very simplified.
Also, managing the highs and lows of a hockey season can be tough. Kraken goalies Joey Decord and Philip Grubauer get real about hockey and mental health.
Eyssimont sneaks in, he scores! Mikey Eyssimont, acquired at the deadline, scores his first goal at Climate Pledge Arena.
Like most hockey players, Mikey Eyssimont has a regimented game day routine. It's crucial for him after he was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Now, 4 seasons into his NHL career, he hopes to set an example of what's possible playing this game.
Eyssimont, a reverse hit on Bedard, who goes down.
The life of a professional athlete is constant go, go, go. A lifestyle Mikey Eyssimont excels at.
Eyssimont in control of it.
The busyness of being in season helps him maintain the routine necessary as an athlete with Crohn's disease.
Everything in my life is very simplified.
Eyssimont was 21 years old when he was diagnosed.
There's no good age to find out.
During his junior year at St. Cloud State, Mikey started experiencing symptoms like low energy and weight loss. At first, he thought he could just tough it out, but after a visit to the hospital, Mikey was officially diagnosed with Crohn's. It's a type of bowel disease that causes inflammation in the digestive tract.
Dealing with that at an older age in college was tough, but it didn't hinder me too much, and it hasn't, so I consider myself lucky.
Since his diagnosis, he's gone on to play hockey at the highest level, where he thrives.
And a wrestling match as Hinostroza got put in a headlock by Eyssimont.
All of us are very routine-oriented, and we're all minute to minute. So this season, it's honestly easier.
Crohn's poses challenges that are essentially invisible to the people who don't experience the disease. So Eyssimont has made it a point to help others who are going through a similar journey.
The main thing for me is kids, especially athletes specifically, who want to play hockey or another sport. And I've met some pretty cool younger kids through the sport that I've been able to talk with and get to know, and that's what it's all about for me.
Mikey has come a long way since his diagnosis and says if he could offer advice to his then 21-year-old self,
I'd say don't be ashamed of your illness, and it's not your fault, and you're going to be okay.
And the Kraken have a 2-0 lead.
For goaltenders in the NHL, there's always a pressure to perform. Piper Shaw talked to the Kraken goalies about maintaining their mental health.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing that any goalie will tell you is the mental side of it. The mental game is the number one thing. I've listened to a lot of interviews and stories and podcasts about all these different kinds of athletes, tennis players, football players, etc. And they just talk about the mental battle. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. When you look at us when we're in the net, and I would say most of the time we look pretty calm, we look pretty composed, but there's a lot going on up there, and we're just, for me personally, I can't speak to everyone else, but I think it's pretty similar for most guys. We're trying our best, we're working as hard as we can. If it doesn't go our way and we give up a bad goal or whatever it may be, we're just as frustrated as the fans are. So, I think that's something that's pretty interesting. I watch a lot of other sports. Okay, you watch soccer team play or whatever, see someone make a mistake. It's well, he didn't mean to. He was trying his best, and I think that's something that's kind of funny sometimes to think about, because hey, there's probably fans that are doing that to me when I make a mistake, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm just trying my best out here. I want them to stop it too. So that's something that people probably don't think of when we're in there. But I would say it's probably a lot of the same in terms of mentality.
Yeah, a couple of different things, obviously mental health is a big topic, and I think it has been buried in the past, and it's coming more to life, and there's more people speaking out, more people going to therapy, talking about what's going on in their life. I think one really helpful thing is for me to go to the barn and be with my horses or be with my horse, and just to put that aside, also talk to somebody. That always helped me in the past. Yeah, it's pretty tough during the season. Not a lot of time to do that, but yeah, at the barn with my dog, just going on hikes, go fly fishing once in a while, stand in the river, just enjoy the remoteness, the nature. I think that always is pretty good for my head, and I'm going to definitely keep that going over the season.
I think it's something that's super important. It's something that I've focused on a lot as I've gotten deeper into my professional career. I think the coolest thing about it is it's such an openly discussed topic now. It used to be kind of taboo, and now it's much more out in the forefront. And I think it's really important, because that is the number one thing, right? We do play hockey. I am a hockey player, but at the end of the day, I'm a person. I think for me, I'm just trying to be the best person that I can before a hockey player. And I think that when I'm in the right headspace off the ice, that really helps me translate to on the ice. So, I've worked with sports psychologists, I meditate, I do journaling. There's lots of, I read books on, mental health and stories of other athletes, etc. So I think that's something that's really important, and a lot of younger athletes and people can lean into. And I think as you get older, you understand how beneficial it is more. I think it's one of the fascinating things is when you're in the NHL arena and there's 20,000 people and the place is going nuts, and there's bright lights flashing and loud music. An hour later, I'm just sitting on my couch, and yeah, it's just silent, and there's a Netflix show on, and it's just so there's the opposites are pretty crazy sometimes. So it definitely takes some time to wind down after games.
Why do you think mental health can be a touchy topic in the hockey world?
That's a good question. I think that's a really layered topic. I think for so long, even just men, let alone hockey, I think it's just been you always got to act tough and act like nothing's wrong and act like you're okay. And I think there is a time for that, so there's a time when it's hey, I got to be tough here, but there's also a time to recognize, hey, this is how I'm feeling, and understanding that it's okay to be open about it and talk about it. And so you don't have to broadcast to the whole world if you don't want to, but it can be a friend, it can be a family member, teammate, whoever it may be, therapist, and just talking about it can really help you benefit in a lot of different ways. And I think for a long time there was I'm not sure what the right word is, but yeah, stigma about just having to bottle it all up and keep it to yourself. And I'm really glad that that's kind of changing.
Well, hockey is always tough when you look at it. Don't show any emotions, don't show any pain, injuries you have to any opponents or teammates. You always gotta be strong and act like that. So I think over the last 5-6 years, it loosened up, and people realized, hey, it's actually a big thing. You train your body, you work out, but you also have to work out on train your mind as well. And we've seen over the past with concussions and a lot of other stuff, depression, that it can take a different route pretty quick. So I think more teammates, if they see something is wrong, they will speak out and like try to find help for your teammate.
Piper Shaw is a familiar face on the Kraken broadcast. She's been ringside for the team's major moments since the beginning. Ahead on Kraken Home Ice, how she found her home in Seattle. And if members of the Kraken weren't hockey players, they have a few thoughts on which professional sports they'd like to play. That's next in the Shootout.
Assist of the Week is sponsored by Primera Blue Cross, always in your corner.
And now they work it around the clock. Larson cross ice, they score! Slammed home!
The assist of the week goes to Adam Larson. He had 2 helpers in the Kraken's 6-2 win over the Blackhawks. Tuesday was a big night for the Big Cat, who had a point in every period. In the first period, he got the Kraken on the board, scoring their first goal. In the second, he assisted Matty Beniers. And in the third period, Larson set up Shane Wright for his second goal of the game. Piper Shaw has been telling the stories of the Kraken since their inaugural season, but her hockey journey started long before the Kraken became a franchise.
Hockey-loving St. Cloud, Minnesota is where Piper Shaw's journey with the sport began.
Hello everyone, I am Piper Shaw outside the Kraken's locker room.
She has made a name for herself as the Kraken Hockey Network's ringside reporter, but in a sort of way, hockey chose her. Hockey is the whole culture of St. Cloud, and it became a huge part of Piper's life from a very young age.
Hockey started for me just in my community. St. Cloud is such a hockey town. Everybody plays it. All my friends had rinks in their backyard, so after we would go watch varsity football games in middle school, we would go play boot hockey in the backyard ponds.
When she was 15 or 16, Piper knew she wanted to be a broadcaster.
I was like, what kind of jobs can I have where every day I'm spending time listening, talking about current events, researching, writing, presenting ideas.
Her first TV job post-college was in news, but the hockey-loving Minnesotan quickly found her way back to the rink.
Do you think it paid off to shoot over and over and over in the garage like you did as a kid?
I just had the opportunity, and it was in hockey, and it was in college hockey, which I'd had experience in, so I was like, let's go.
The full circle moment eventually led her to the Pacific Northwest. Shaw knew she wanted to be a member of the Deep even before the Kraken was officially announced.
I specifically targeted wanting to work for this team, before they even had a name.
Piper's first role with the team, hosting the 2021 expansion draft at Gasworks Park.
It's so cool now when we have players that have milestones, and seeing this year putting the C on Jordan Eberle's chest. I remember when I met him that very first day and just kind of seeing the growth of even players like Matty Beniers. When they drafted him that fall, I went to Michigan and I interviewed him when he was playing at the University of Michigan.
Are there any other guys on the team that maybe you're excited to play with?
Piper is passionate about telling the stories of the Kraken players, coaches, and community.
I think one of the most undeniable, aspects of this organization is how much they care about the identity of the brand in the community and just the community in general, and leaving an impact that's not just about the team on the ice.
When she's not on KHN, she's co-hosting the Signals from the Deep podcast with JT Brown, and in her rare off time, she unwinds with music.
Freedom I never know.
I love music, so I will sometimes after games go home and play my guitar until 1 in the morning and just write and just express in that way.
The most rewarding part of her job is living out her storyteller dream.
If you're working almost, in broadcast, you're a mouthpiece in a way. Being able to use that for good is such a privilege and also a responsibility, and it's one that I cherish and take very seriously.
The players' lives might revolve around hockey, but they are big fans of other sports as well. In this week's Shootout, we asked them, if you didn't play hockey, what other sport would you play?
Probably tennis player, maybe soccer, one of the two. Lacrosse.
Either golf or F1.
Golf, for sure. Yeah, probably a standard answer here.
Oh, tennis.
Soccer.
Right now, I've been watching tennis, and that's going on in Indian Wells, so everyone's sort of into tennis right now.
Baseball and golf. I went to college to play baseball and hockey. quickly became just hockey, but I would love for it to be baseball.
When you're at a Kraken game at Climate Pledge Arena, you're not just enjoying hockey, but also amazing locally sourced food. Up next on Kraken Home Ice, Executive Chef Molly Demers shares how she brings quality food to the arena while making a positive impact on the environment. Climate Pledge Arena places a huge focus on sustainability. It's the driving force behind Executive Chef Molly Demers' Farm to Stadium concept. King 5's Leah Pizzetti has more on how the arena is intentional on where it sources its food and the impact it has on the environment.
With a good game of hockey comes a good time to snack. And did you know the Climate Pledge goes all the way to the kitchen?
Our goal is 75% of our ingredients are going to be sourced within a 300-mile radius.
Because the closer food is sourced, the fewer emissions in transport.
Not just about sustainability, right? Eating in season, and then also the transporting of it. But then we're also able to help businesses, small businesses, come to the forefront. And now their items are being talked about right here at where the action is.
Down to the barbecue sauce, which is Richard's Too Good sauce.
A little sweet, a little tangy. You know, I love garlic, I love onions.
Chef Molly says before Climate Pledge even opened, they were searching for their food sources.
For us, we wanted to break bread. It was literally cold calling.
Which caught Richard off guard.
I saw Climate Pledge in the logo, and I'd never heard of Climate Pledge. Like, I live in Kent, our kitchen is here in Sequilla, and so I trashed it. I just threw it out. I deleted it. I was like, oh, this is definitely spam.
They finally connected. And now, 4 seasons later, Richard's small team of 5 is filling hundreds of bottles worth of sauce.
The 300-mile menu is genius from the aspect of just knowing where your food comes from. I think that's really important. Sustainability is really important.
Proud to help the cause and thankful for help putting his flavors on the map.
I've gotten so much love, you know, like online or in person, like, hey man, heard what you're doing at the arena. They send me pictures when they're in the suites or when they're getting a pulled pork sandwich at the arena. They're like, this is your sauce, and I know you.
Last Saturday at the Kraken Community Iceplex, it was a goalie takeover. Players faced off in the Oops, All Goalies exhibition game. Unlike a normal game, this was a 5-on-5 hockey game with all goalies skating like players in full goaltender gear. The Kraken's Joey DeCord even made an appearance, participating in the ceremonial puck drop. There's lots more Kraken hockey to come at Climate Pledge Arena this week. The Edmonton Oilers come to town Thursday. Then on Saturday, it's Seattle and the Stars. The Kraken have one more road game on Monday, and then they head home to take on the Oilers for the second time in less than a week. And that'll do it for this episode of Kraken Home Ice. Thanks for looking in. We'll see you next week.
Kraken Home Ice is sponsored by Primera Blue Cross.